what's the best source of stem cells? There's a lot of information writing about bone marrow as a source. You see some things about neonate or umbilical cords as a source, and yet you've spent time with adipose. And I just want to get your thoughts on why the source of adipose over bone marrow.
Bone marrow was actually around a long time before fat in terms of the scientific evaluation of it because of bone marrow transplants. And the people we licensed our patents from actually own the largest patent portfolio, or the second largest, in bone marrow. So we had the option. We could have done bone marrow or fat. Fat had the unique opportunity that it's 1,000 times more concentrated in stem cells than bone marrow. That's a surprise. Was a total surprise to the scientific community a decade ago, when that was discovered.
Sure, you'd think the stem cells come from the bone marrow and it's going to be more, but you're saying it's 1,000 times more out of fat.
1,000. So if you take a spoon of bone marrow and a spoon of fat, and you looked at the mesenchymal stem cells, these healing stem cells that we want, not the ones that make bone marrow or blood, but the ones that actually are for healing, 1,000 times more concentrated in fat. So now, bone marrow you could get, when you take bone marrow out of a horse, you could maybe get 25 cc's, 50 cc's.
Depending if you get a blood clot or what you get out of that.
And it's mostly blood. So you don't get very many stem cells. So with bone marrow, you can't use it fresh and have enough stem cells to really provide healing. So you have to go to culture. So now you have a 2 to 4 week delay. Acute tendon injury. What's our biggest enemy?
Time.
Time and scar tissue that's going to form if we don't get it done. And the data is really clear. At AAP, it's been presented a number of times now, that in that first 2 to 3 weeks, you get all that granulation and scar tissue. Anybody who's had a horse injury on their leg, a skin injury, you see scar tissue forms pretty quickly. So this, 48 hours from the time you collect that fat and send it to us, you've got those cells in there. And cells block scar tissue while they're healing. They make new blood vessels. So all that healing, so in any of those soft tissues, it's hugely important to get it done quickly. Also, if we ever need to culture to get more, there's so much more starting material. The sourdough starter, if you start with enough, you can make a lot of bread. If you only have a little tiny bit, it takes a long time. And so again, it's both economically and time sensitive, very important. So we chose fat from an economics issue, from a science issue on the number of cells. Interestingly, UC Davis just published last month, they looked at bone marrow and fat and its ability to make bone. And bone marrow came out, again, inferior. Fat, because the cells grew faster, lasted longer, were more potent kinds of cells, were the cell of choice. In the world, there's about 13 veterinary stem cell companies. So scattered all around the world, all small companies, no big companies yet. In those, 9 of those use fat.